Hey guys, and welcome to one of the greatest games of Total War Warhammer you are ever likely to see. I'm a Rubber Duck of War, but today we have the forces of Beaumont leading the mighty Wood Elves and Hand Samurai leading the Beastmen, and this was taken, a replay taken from my recent Death Before Dishonor, which did run about last week, and this game was live streamed back then, so it may seem a little bit familiar to those of you who do indeed go and watch the live streams, but it was such an incredible battle. I felt like it needed its own video, and boy oh boy is an absolute masterclass in micromanagement. So let's slow this game down now, hop in here and check out the builds. For the forces of the Wood Elves, we do have double Glade Riders on the right hand flank, escorting some Wild Riders as well as the Great Stag Knights. Now, I am such a huge fan of Great Stag Knights. They're such a fun unit to play. Real hardcore, squishy shot cavalry. They're one of the biggest high risk, high reward cavalry units in the entire game. Likewise also Wild Riders, though they are a little bit swifter, but a little bit more lighter as well. We do have a mixture of Dryads and War Dancers in the main battle line. I like this quite a bit. So triple Dryads, one Eternal Guard, and the beautiful War Dancers, as always, going to be singing and dancing their way into battle with their rather cool tattoos across their face and shoulders. And over on the left-hand side, we have even more cavalry. We have Glade Riders with spears, in fact 2 units, more Wild Riders, as well as the Lost Silver Knights. Now, Lost Silver Knights, absolutely peak physical condition to be taken on the Beastmen because they are ethereal. So, technically dreadful physical condition, but fantastic ethereal condition, which will take them quite far up against the Beastmen, who do tend to lack magic damage unless they've brought some Regiment Renowned Centaurs or some magic. And there is 1 or 2 tricks up Samurai's sleeve to try to deal with this Wood Elf build. We do have a Spellweaver of high magic as well, coming in with Tempest, which is going to be very useful up against the double Manticore. We have Soul Quench as well as Apotheosis. Nice set of spells there. For the Beastmen, we have a nice cheeky little vanguard of Ungor Raiders looking to get to grips with the enemy as swiftly as possible. And on the left-hand side, we have Centaurs mixed in with Chaos Warhounds with Poison. Same again on this right-hand flank, and in the centre we have 2 units of Centaurs with Throne Axes, including the Grog Hooves of Wolf's Run, the Regiment of Renown. Triple Ungor Raiders, they're cheap, they're cheerful, and they're ready for a good old fat scrap. We have double Manticore in the sky, and Torox the Brass Bull, the man, the myth, the God of War legend, who was having an absolutely fantastic time on stream, carrying it game after game. Going to be coming in with all the goodies here. We have Brass Body, Slaughter Call, and Blood Creed. We have 2 spellcasters, Brave Shaman of Death coming in with Doom and Darkness, and the Brave Shaman of Wild coming in with Traitorkin. So, or the Aspect of Dreadnought, I should say, for this first Brave Shaman of Death here. And the reason you bring this, if you take a little look there at the tooltip, it imbues everyone in an area of effect, or I think it's an ally, sorry, with a terror and fear, but also gives them magic damage, which is massive when you take into consideration your opponent is almost always going to be bringing the Lost Silver Knight. So both those casters are designed to counter the Regiment Renown Great Stags here. Lovely little Tempest is going to be used on the Feral Manticores, catching both of them there. And not an overcast though. I was a little bit surprised, but it looks like the Winds of Magic is going to be saved, so we can pump out those Soul Quenches, going for the assassination attempt on the Brave Shaman who has Traitorkin. Not a bad target whatsoever, but the Wood Elf Micro has to really be top notch right here. There is no skirmish mode for a unit such like the Spellweaver itself, so it's going to have to be constantly flying away from the Manticores and making swift its escape. Glade Riders, Wild Riders, and Great Stag Knights are simply going to rotate back a little bit. They don't want to engage with all this chaff on this flank, particularly with so many Centaurs nearby. Good play by Samurai, moving the Throne Axes over to the side, which is dominated by cavalry forces. It looks like the Ungor Raiders have been forced back. We do get a fat overcast Traitorkin going down, which is going to be pretty damn nasty on those Lost Silver Knights. You can see their health just dripping off them right now. And Torox the Brass Bull is well and truly having a wonderful time. He is slaughtering Dryads, decapitating Eternal Guard, and just living his best life. You can't hate the Brass Bull. Cavalry is going to slam in though. It finds a very small gap, just pulling through here into the Raiders before quickly bouncing into a rear attack onto the Ungor Spearheads. Lovely cavalry play here by the Wood Elf player. Lost Silver Knights do manage to surround the Brave Shaman of Wild, doing some decent damage, and it looks like actually terrifying and perhaps breaking such a unit. There's a lovely overload as well coming in with Glade Riders, trying to hound into the back line. Unfortunately, Wild Riders are being forced off, and the Great Stag Knights are kind of circumventing the back fight there and coming into the middle. Up in the sky, you can see the Spellweaver doing a good job. She did get caught momentarily there, but Apotheosis has been popped, and a lovely Tempest to pin that Feral Manticore in place. Down on the ground, you can see both castles are really having a bad day right now. The Lost Silver Knights are doing massive damage to them, but they're not sticking anywhere. They're consistently bouncing between units. They're now hunting down the Ungor Raiders, terror routing them, and forcing them away. And that's also one reason Lost Silver Knights are so good in this matchup. That terror really can be quite fantastic. Unfortunately for the Manticores, they are rampaging, but rather lovely, it's into the War Dancers, which is a good target for them. The poor little ladies are running for their lives, trying to escape the carnage. Eternal Guard might want to try to float back here to see if they can help support. Overcast does go down by the Brave Shaman of Death just before his death, and that was to imbue an aspect of the Dread Knight in an area of effects, giving magic damage to these Centaurs and Chaos Warhounds, and you can see the damage they're doing to the Lost Silver Knights. Look how many dead models there are on the field. That is such good value. Wild Riders do come clattering in, trying to break the Centaurs and Warhounds before they can finish off the Lost Silver Knights, but the damage may well be too much. Down to just 9 models. Beautiful play there coming in by Han Samurai, but at the same time Bowmore is striking back. The Spellweave of High Magic does finish off that pesky wizard, and it looks like for the most part I think both wizards are gone for the forces of the Beastmen, so they have no magic left coming into the later stages of the game, which can be pretty huge because the Lost Silver Knights do still live. Only 9 models, but they still cause that glorious terror. We've got some Glade Riders just vibing alongside the Ungor Raiders, Ungor Herd here, trading their war stories, but it looks like the Riders are going to fall back now, as well as the majority of the cavalry. Lovely little apotheosis does go down on the Lost Silver Knights, restoring some HP there as they float out to this left-hand side. Ungor Raiders get clattered into by Glade Riders. Not a fun day for them, but we still have both units of Centaurs lurking in the wings, and they can do some really nice damage to all of this cavalry that does remain. There still is Taurox, the absolute beast himself, and Double Manticore, who do get hit by a Tempest once again. There's no Way Watchers, Glade Guard, anything like that, which can help punish the Manticores when they're slow like this. But at the end of the day, damage is damage, and they are keeping the Spellweaver rather busy right now. But such good micromanagement so far by the Wood Elf player. Look at all this cavalry constantly bouncing around the battlefield. The Spellweaver as well, managing to survive. So Manticores do finally commit to a fight alongside some Centaurs and Warhounds. Wild Rider's going to pull them back into the Lost Silver Knights, who are now counter-charge in with ferocity there. We're going to get a Soul Quench, it looks like, come down as well, and it is aiming at one of the Manticores, and it is a direct hit, causing that beast to go out of control and rampage. Not good for the Manticore whatsoever, particularly because the Great Stag Knights are still relatively healthy. You can see those Throne Axes are constantly hounding and harassing them, and that's because they have pretty good AP, which will certainly help out against Taurox the Brass Bull in the later stages of the game. Wild Riders are being used just to hunt down Warhounds and other units on the periphery, and that is the advantage of having such a fast, mobile force. You can see all of these Beastmen forces just getting shattered and broken off. All the while, the magic will be getting restored to the Spellweaver so she can pop some more spells. It looks like Taurox is making a bit of a last stand here with the Pharaoh Manticore, doing some nice damage to the Great Stag Knights, who are once again being forced to retreat back. But this Manticore has been finished off. That Spellweaver has been very busy pecking out its eyes and trying to rip out its guts. Done a very good job so far. Manticore is being forced back for now, but Taurox the Brass Bull is insanely healthy. Luckily, the War Dancers do come in with some pretty decent attack damage stats, and the Eternal Guard as well will be useful with that anti-large. So the War Dancers have done a pretty good job, up to 100 kills. Been impressed with them, considering they've also been hounded and harassed by Manticores and Taurox. Cavalry's taking a little bit of a breather here on this left-hand side. The Throne Axes are getting some pretty good work done, but good juking coming in from the Great Stags to ensure it's not devastating work, and they're going to move some Glade Riders over here to intercept them. Pharaoh Manticore is trying to do the Wood Elf's job there and kind of pick off those units on the periphery, and is trying his little hardest, but the Glade Riders do indeed get terrified and forced off. Pharaoh Manticore is on the retreat once more as the Spellweaver swoops in. He's getting some pretty bad PTSD. He's going to be scared of pigeons for the rest of his life. Taurox Brass Bull up to 93 kills. What an absolute chad right now. War Dancers looks like they may just about be spent, but the Eternal Guard, 52 models. That's a decent amount of anti-large, which can hopefully poke in at that nice soft patch underneath his chin, where he does have his eternal weakness. I believe he insulted one of the Chaos Gods who was trying to bestow a blessing on him by eating the emissary of, I can't remember which Chaos God it was, but yeah, he ate an emissary, and his punishment was that he would have this big glaring weakness and always be hungry. Glade Riders do charge in, trying to force the Centaurs with Throne Axes into the edge of the map where maybe they can pin them in place, but it looks like the Manticores are going to land, and this is kind of scary for this Manticore. It's rather low. Taurox isn't nearby to support. And we have the Wild Riders and Lost Silver Knights closing in. Lost Silver Knights have done a really good job stabilising. Only 7 models left, but they're up to 69 kills, so they're certainly having a good time today. Spellweaver continuing to flap its wings up in the sky. Probably is going to be needed to do a little bit of cycle charging, but I love the Apotheosis once again on the Lost Silver Knights, trying to keep them topped up just to keep that terror into the late game when they can be used to force off these Centaurs, because of course the Ferromanticore isn't going to be terror outed anytime soon, but Torok certainly could be. I believe he only causes fear, and unfortunately no terror for him. Blade Riders are being sacrificed into the Grog Hooves of Wolf's Run. Not a bad idea whatsoever, just get them to waste ammunition on those cheaper units. A load of Wood Elf Cavalry does exit stage left, unfortunately, but the Manticore, once again, is getting gobbled up by the gigantic pigeon here of the Spellweaver. The Centaurs shatter, and Torox does stand alone in a tide of Elven blades, and he's trying his little heart out, up to 117 kills. Brass Body is currently popped. You can see the Lost Silver Knights do just ensure those Centaurs are shattered and can now probably float out over here to deal with the Grog Hooves of Wolf's Run, who do apply poison, so they probably want to go over here and help support Torox where possible. Balance power is moving more and more in favour of the Wood Elves here. As you can see, the Ferromanticore has been dispatched, and the cavalry is now surrounding Torox, trying to drag down the mighty beast. Spellweaver even decides, you know what, I've taken out 2 Manticores today, I can take out some big bull-headed buffoon. But Torox says, I don't think you can, and absolutely cleaves the back of that Spellweaver's dome open. She took massive damage there, and rather wisely decided, you know what, I'm just going to retreat here. Balance of power is very close to Imolos's. Torox the Brass Bull trying his little heart out. The Lost Silver Knights, so once again, are going to receive an Apotheosis. No, it looks like it maybe was cancelled here. But Torox is wavering as the Great Stags come in to get their supper. The Grog Hooves finally commit to the main infantry fight. A lot of troops are wavering, including the Great Stag Knights. Lost Silver Knights are very beat up at this moment, but Torox does break, and it is a very, very Pyrrhic victory for the forces of the Wood Elves. Absolutely awesome game. Well played to Bowmore, well played to Samurai. It was a crazy best of 3, and you can catch the best of 3 and the entire semi-finals and finals of this tournament on the channel. It is the last Death Before Dishonor. I believe it was Death Before Dishonor Season 9 Qualifier 4, something along those lines. So if you want to see these guys duke out for another 2 games, feel free to go back and watch that. But well played to Bowmore, well played to Samurai. This really was an absolute joy to behold. The micromanagement on the Wood Elf side, as well as the Beastmen, but particularly of so many Cav and the Spellweaver constantly under pressure from the Manticores, was just quite frankly amazing to see live. It was really top notch. And I just thought, you know what, I need to give you this guys in a video as well. I don't think we did it justice here today. I'm a little bit of a tired ducky, but I don't know, that was honestly, truly, absolutely amazing. So well played to Bowmore, one of my favourite games I've ever cast. This game definitely up there as well with A-Move Hacker versus Halanali in a Dwarf versus Ledsman Kite game, which went on for like 20 minutes we had once, which was absolutely beautiful as well. But yeah, this has been my favourite game in recent memory, so massive shout out to Bowmore and Samurai for being 2 champs of the people. Hope you guys enjoyed this one as well as much as I did casting it. I will be popping into the damage dealt and damage value of all the units in just a second. You can see the Lost Silver Knights here, again, relatively decent damage value, but their utility on the battlefield was used to absolute peak effectiveness here. But if you guys did enjoy, make sure to drop a thumbs up, make sure to subscribe, and make sure to comment down below what you thought of the battle, and yeah, cheer on if you enjoyed the Wood Elf victory, or do some sad moves if you were rooting for Torox and the Beastie Boys. I really do generally appreciate all the comments. They are really what inspires me to keep making content and keep pushing this stuff forward. So massive shout out to all you guys. And if you've made it this far in the video, you're an absolute legend. But let's move on to damage dealt and damage value. Actually, just before then, there are links down below in my description as well to my Patreon if you'd like to support, but also to my Discord where you can submit replays and get involved in events and tournaments just like these 2 guys did here. But moving on now back to the battle. So 1,784 damage value, only 6 kills, but that doesn't really matter. Some lovely soul quenchers, good use of Apotheosis, and some real nice sniping potential as well. I truly think Spellweavers can be powerful foes indeed. Total Guard did good, 699 damage value, helping to poke and drag down the big beasties, particularly Torox in the later stages of the game. And Dryads across the board, including War Dancers, got some solid kills, 85, 200, 78, and 104, helping clear out the chaff and free up the cavalry a little bit to hunt down kind of key targets a little bit more. So very impressive here. Damage value, you know, 800, 383, 411, and 679. So nothing too crazy, but good utility. As for the Glade Riders, they did a good job. Again, the damage value isn't absolutely insane, although this one did get 725 damage value and 111 kills, but just speeding around the battlefield, breaking units, breaking the Beastmen back, and forcing units off the field. Really good micromanagement on them. So big standouts though were the Wild Riders and the Great Stag Knights. Wild Riders only 463 damage value, the other one at 731, but pretty impressive kills, and they supported the Great Stag Knights, who themselves got 1,245 damage value, 66 kills, not bad, and 1,319 on the Regiment of Renown, despite the fact they got hit by an overcast Traitorkin, as well as that glorious trap of pinning them in place and then imbuing his own troops with the magic damage. I quite like this tactic, quite a bit actually, by Samurai. I'm probably going to steal this for future Wood Elf games. 981 damage value and 49, unfortunately getting sniped out a little bit early on there. Torx the Brassball, 1,658 damage value. He's an absolute powerhouse. I see him picked so often, and there's good reason for that. He's just an absolute beast. 137 kills as well. He did his people proud, but in the end, it was not enough. The infantry kind of got run over, which you would expect. It was outclassed by the Elvish infantry, and there was so many cavalry bouncing around. Likewise, the Ungol Raiders really did indeed struggle. Centaurs, though, played really good. I mean, 681 and 1,258 damage values. Very impressive when you consider the amount of cavalry they were up against and having to stall and stop. Centaurs of Thrown Axes, 874 damage value and 850. Very impressive them. And the Grog Hooves of Wolves one were still actually very healthy in the late game, so could have given plenty more. The Warhounds synergised well with the Centaurs, though some of them did get crumped pretty early on as well, just by the sheer weight of cavalry. The the Manticores, 442 and 991 damage value apiece. Pretty juicy stuff. Hey guys, hope you enjoyed this one. Until next time, peace, peace. And as always, stay awesome.